thank you everyone for joining us. Just to repeat, this is what we're here for. We're talking about the story of Jake Wood deciding to leave the soap of EastEnders after 15 years. And we're just interested to know what you guys are thinking about, what you guys think. Comment below. Don't forget to comment and we'll read any out as they come. But anyone who may not have known and haven't spotted it on the Twitter yet, I suppose if you're on Twitter you probably have spotted it already. I'll just read out the article as it comes up on Digital Spy. Digital Spy had reported, so it's the Metro, the Sun, and they've all said that EastEnders bosses have announced today that Jake Wood will be bowing out from his role as Max Branning. The popular actor, who has played Max since 2006, will leave the BBC soap in a dramatic new storyline. Show chiefs made the decision after coming up with a big new plot, which will see Max depart Walford. Details of the high-stakes drama to come, but are being kept under wraps for now. And there's obviously quotes. Jake Wood has confirmed in a quote in the press that he is leaving. That it's been a wonderful 15 years. He's made truly some good friends. But he's decided that he wants to move on. But he hasn't actually confirmed. If you go to his Twitter or his Instagram, he hasn't, or as of right now, we've not seen that he's confirmed that on his Twitter just yet. Again, that's probably something that he's not gotten around to do yet, but it's a bit I think it's a bit weird that he's not kind of done a confirmation yet on his Twitter page. You'd think they would have coincided one and the other and he would have done a big, it's been great working on EastEnders all this time. I could be talking rubbish right now, and there's loads of tweets on there right now. But as we say, on the podcast, we've discussed it a few times, and Max Branning has lost a little bit of steam over time, and so it makes a good sense that perhaps now is the time that perhaps he kind of bows out and give the character a bit of a rest. He gave the character a rest 2-3 years ago, and he didn't really come back with much of a bang, and so it seems to make sense to me that he perhaps just carries on just trying to try something a bit new and different. However, I've spoken to Ben, even though Ben's not here right now to talk to us on the Twitter live. I have spoken to Ben and he's come up with a few theories of his own, and you know how Ben likes his theories, so I shall read them out to you. First things first, he says that it's very unlikely, or it's probably not going to happen, that Jacqueline Josser will now come back to the soap, because she has no real connections anymore other than Peter. There's not really any link anymore. There's no kind of tension, because there's obviously still that tension between her and her dad. I mean, she might come back for just one or two scenes, but I don't think it's very likely that character Jacqueline Josser will now return, knowing that Max Branning's character is now leaving. Lauren Branning, sorry, I don't know why I keep saying Jacqueline Josser. Lauren Branning. So it might be unlikely that might happen, which is a huge shame. We have said that there is room for Lauren to come back, whether it would be Jacqueline Josser to play her or whether it would be just someone else to play her. But because Max is leaving, there doesn't seem to be now a lot of links between her anymore. She's slowly losing them one by one. I saw someone had commented, and I'm sorry I didn't pick it up straight away. I didn't get the name. Comment again, just so I can get your name and do a shout out. But you said that Abby Branning has died for nothing, and that's also true. The beautiful Abby Branning is just, it just goes to show there was perhaps no need then to kill Abby Branning. She should have stayed. She could have been such a great her evil seeds were starting to sow, and she, the weeds from the ground were coming out, and you could see that Abby Branning would have perhaps been a very good, interesting character. And justice for Abby, absolutely. Hashtag justice for Abby. Anyone who's retweeting and discussing the Max Branning story, please hashtag justice for Abby. No doubt. So what could the stories potentially be for Max Branning to leave? Obviously, he's got this feud now with Ian. That's just kind of started after his week of saying, hello, Antonia, hello. After his week of being like, Ian's my best friend. Me and our best chums. He looked after me and I'm going to look after him. And then last night on EastEnders, he discovered through Kathy, so well done, Kathy, that perhaps he has made a mistake about Ian, and Ian has double-crossed him in order to get the Queen Vic. So Max and him aren't particularly BFFs anymore. So what could the potential storylines be then for his exit? Obviously, none of the press have given any confirmation of perhaps what the storyline could or couldn't be. The Metro have said an explosive exit, but the Metro does tend to say explosive to a lot of things, so I don't know. I think it would be like an explosion or some kind of fire or anything like that. I don't think it would be necessarily. A few theories is that obviously Adam Woodyard is taking a 10-week break, or he's actually, I think he's on his 10-week break now, so that will be the stories over Christmas. There's rumours that there's a character returning over Christmas that has kind of bowed out and come back into the show. Would be coming back into the show. Lots of names are flying around, but there's one character that Max Branning told she should leave and not come back. And with Jake leaving, perhaps this character might be coming back. That character, I think you may have figured out, is Jane Bill, because she was told, obviously she was blackmailed by Max to leave and not come back. And yes, an Ian and Jane final showdown is quite right. So it kind of puts more weight on the theory that the return of the character over Christmas could potentially be Jane Bill. Especially, as I say, it kind of coincides with Jake Wood or Max leaving, because then there's Jane could return because of the fact that Max is going or will be leaving, and so the blackmail story kind of has ended the moment Max leaves the square. So that's a potential idea for a story. There's another theory that perhaps Lauren will come back, and there could be some kind of bad blood, or she tells him that he needs to leave because there's something that's happened with Lauren in Australia. It could be something a bit boring like that. I doubt it will be, but I think the biggest or the most obvious link is the Jane, Ian and Max storyline, because obviously where Jane and Ian had Jane had left, breaking Ian's heart. Ian's obviously at the moment in a bit of a rut with his love life, so it makes sense that perhaps if that kind of carries on, that Jane should return over Christmas. But what are your theories about when Max leaves? Be very interested to know. If you're watching this video not live, then do comment underneath and let us know your theories that way. Otherwise, you can comment now live and let us know right now. But it's a big deal, let's be honest, because Jake Wood has been on the soap for 15 years. Max may be going on the run. I mean, his past could catch up with him, as I say, with the Jane storyline, so that it does make sense. I just think it would be... I would think that Max's story would be more of a big exit rather than a whimper, because it's been 15 years. It would be fascinating to know if he gets Julia's theme, because that'd be fun, watching him go off in a black taxi to Julia's theme. But it's a big deal that Max is leaving. I think he's right. I don't know if it's Jake Wood's decision. I'm sure it was. I think he's right to decide to give it a bit of a rest. If he would want to come back, then the doors, I'm sure, would be very much open. Ian deserves to be hit around the head by Max. Ian, well, this leads quite a lot to the Ian Nexus storyline, I think. Also, it kind of because we've been going on that he perhaps has a who did this to Ian kind of storyline. I'm shocked I'm shocked. I love this character from Cindy. He was a great character in his prime, but he's become a little bit stock, and so I feel like that perhaps he is time to move on and just try something a bit new, pastures new. I mean, he's got that great podcast, the boxing podcast, so he's not like not doing anything. He's got plenty to do, so I'm sure he's absolutely fine. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a coincidence that Max is leaving is very much within line of them saying that Ian is having a break or Adam Woodyard is having a break, and so it's I think it's almost obvious that the Max and Ian storyline is going to be the one over Christmas that's going to be for Ian's exit and also Max's exit. But what it would be, if it would be perhaps that Ian has blackmailed or upset so many people on the square that it's a who's hurt Ian storyline, it would be a shame that it's almost just now being revealed to us that it's likely to be Max, but then it's not necessarily going to be Max, because Max could just leave and it kind of gives you the impression that it is him, and then when Ian comes back it was actually someone else after all. They've done that before, and I suppose it makes it a bit more dramatic because it kind of almost points the finger to one character, so when it's not him, it's someone else instead, it's more of a surprise. Big news. Jake Wood's leaving the square. Max Branning, obviously with him, they're the same person. And be fascinated to know what you guys think. You can get in touch with us on Twitter or our Instagram. Also on our Facebook group, on all three, just search Walford Weekly or Walford Weekly Podcast. And don't forget, you can hear more of this conversation between Ben and I this coming Sunday when we have a brand new episode of the Walford Weekly Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or any of your favourite podcast apps. Thank you for joining me live if you did. We all hope he comes back eventually. And I'll be back also. What a link. Very, very soon. Take care, guys.